This is the Horse Breaker from Ceriatone. It's a combination of a Klon style circuit and a Blues Breaker circuit. And what we're going to do is make this more of a clean boost, and we're going to make this more into a distortion. So let's do some signal analysis on the pedal. I've got a 1 kHz sine wave, 300 millivolts going in, and that's what you can see on the scope. So let's first of all engage the Blues Breaker, which is a soft clipper. So the diodes go around the op amp, which is typical of an overdrive circuit, and we're going to add distortion to this one. So when I engage the pedal, it got quieter. So if I turn the volume up, that's max volume, and the maximum volume with the maximum output, peak to peak output, is always going to be limited by the 9-volt DC power supply that we've got feeding the chips, and they're TL072s, I believe. This one here is the tone. So you can see we change the characteristics of the circuit, or of the sine wave, a little bit, but the key thing here is the gain pot. So this adjusts a resistive network around the op amp, and when we look at the circuit diagram in a second, we can see how that all works. But we can turn the gain up, and we're not going to get much higher than about this value here, which looks like about 1.8 volts on the oscilloscope when we do the peak to peak measurement, and that still looks reasonably clean. There's a little bit of distortion, but it's not that bad. If I back it off here, actually there is distortion. That's distortion. That's a nice distorted sine wave. And when we go up full blast, it's still distorted, and I think it's affected by how we've got the tone control set. But I, typically have the gain set around halfway. So off, input signal, on, distorted signal. So that adds a nice little bit of clip to your signal. Now if we go over to the Horse side, which is a Klon style circuit, switch that on. Now you can see the output's massive, and if we turn the output up a little bit more, it gets even bigger. Now that's because it's got a 24 volts power supply on the output stage of this pedal, and so we have to turn down the scale on the oscilloscope a little to be able to see this. So if I turn this up now, we get a fully distorted, well actually I can turn it up much more. We get a fully distorted signal, and we're putting out about 7 volts, so that's huge. And that's because we've got a 24 volt power supply, and you can see the distortion, so it's like a shark fin, as we saw with the Horse Breaker. But how I like to use these pedals is I like the Klon to be more of a clean boost, like this. So you turn down this gain pot, so it's kind of bypassing the hard clipping diodes and putting the signal through with amplification, and then use this. This is the last pedal in the chain usually for me, and then we use that to drive the input of the amplifier, a tube amplifier, really hard, and create some more natural distortion within the amplifier by putting a big signal in. And then we can add to that by just pressing in the Blues Breaker here, and you can see it's kind of going a little shark finny, but it's a clip signal. Well, it's a distorted signal, and it's quite a pleasant sound, and we'll go over that when we do the tone test. So what we get from the Horse side is pure voltage gain without distortion, and what we get from the Breaker side is distortion with the soft clipping circuit. So we're going to do two things. We're going to modify the Breaker side so it becomes a hard clipper, so we'll see a reduction in the output voltage of the Blues Breaker, because hard clippers literally hard clip the signal to the forward voltage of the diodes. And on the Horse side, we're going to actually remove the diodes, or we're going to have three options. You can have the diodes completely removed, you can have an LED as the hard clipper, and also we'll go back to the germanium diodes that are in there that are causing this kind of gain response like that. So we'll keep those in, so it'll be a three-way switch. And this side, on the Blues Breaker side as well, that will be a three-way switch. So we'll have hard clipping, soft clipping, and pure boost. Let's now take a look at the schematics to see what we're going to do. So here's a typical schematic for the Blues Breaker side of the circuit. This schematic's from Pedal PCB, and I'm on one of the forums here. Telecaster discussion page. So let's scroll back down to that schematic, zoom it out. So it's 2 op amps. This is the drive here, so this affects the negative feedback around, so you get more or less gain by adjusting this pot here. And then the clipping is done by these guys here. And this specific version, you can change these capacitors by using these switches. May or may not do that mod, but what we will be doing is this modification here. So with the switch in one position, it's a soft clipper, i.e. this is in the feedback circuit of this op amp, and then in the switch's other position, it goes after this 1K resistor here, and it goes straight down to Vref, or half voltage, so 4.5 volts, and that's where it becomes a hard clipper. We'll also have a third option where you don't have these diodes engaged at all, so it'll be a boost, it'll be a hard clip or distortion, and it'll be a soft clip or what we call overdrive. And if you're familiar with those terms and those switch positions, that's what's on the King and Prince of Tone as well. This is what we're going to do on this side. Now let's take a look at the Klon side of the circuit. So flicking over to the Electro Smash website, scroll down, here's our schematic, zoom in, and these are the hard clippers here. And it's a hard clipping circuit, but it's not. And I do a full video in it about this, and the link's just about to appear above. And what we're going to do is, these are 1N34As, so they have about 0.3 volts forward voltage drop across them. And we're going to have the option where we have no voltage drop, so there'll be no clipping in this stage. And then we're also going to add an LED, which will have something like a forward voltage drop of 2 volts, depending on what color we choose. And that's going to allow you to be on the edge of breakup with much higher amplitudes of this op amp. So those are the 2 mods we're going to do. We're going to check all diode mods, and all involving switching or configuring diodes in the distortion or the clipping stage of both these pedals, the Blues Breaker and the Klon. I have the back off the pedal now. It's beautifully made by Ceriatone in Malaysia. And these 2 diodes here are the hard clippers, the Klon circuit, and these 4 diodes here look like they're the soft clipping diodes for the Blues Breaker. I'm guessing where all these caps are, and that device there that's hot glued in, that is the voltage multiplier, which gives you a 24 volts for one of these chips at this side of the board, and this side is run on 9 volts. So let's go ahead now, and I think I'll be putting the switches here and here, and I'm going to lift these guys out. So I've already worked out that this side of these diodes are the side that connects to the op amp output, and this side goes down to ground. Got to figure out next what these diodes do, or how these diodes are configured. I've traced the diodes out. So on this is the top diode, these are your middle 2 diodes, and this is your bottom diode. So this comes from the input of the op amp, and this is the output of the op amp. So this is the feedback loop here. And so all we're going to do for the switch is actually put the switch just round about here. It could go there, but we're going to put it there, and switch this whole loop in and out by just a single pole, single throw switch just there. This is my prototype. I've got everything hooked up to this switch here, and so this is a 3-way switch. Center does nothing. When the switch is in the down position, it's a hard clipper, and when the switch is in the up position, it's a soft clipper. So up position is an overdrive, down position is a distortion, and middle is a boost. And now if I just adjust the gain, you can see on the scope, you just get plenty of luscious, clean gain, because there is no clipping mechanism in the pedal at all. And now if we put the switch into the up position, so now that is the distortion, overdrive, soft clipper. So we turn it up, get reasonable amplitude, and there it is, lovely, smooth, soft clipping. And then if we put it in the down position, now it's a hard clipper, and you can see the capacitance that I've added in here as well, just to smooth off some of the higher frequencies, much like the distortion plus. You know, because a hard clipper, now we have a significant reduction in amplitude. So if we roll the gain back to a quarter, it's a sine wave, so nice and clean. Gain at halfway, clipped. Gain at full, not much change. A bit more clipped, but about the same. So this is all looks like it's working really well. So I think the next step is to plug the guitar in and see how each one of these diode modes work. I have the guitar now plugged in, so let's do our clean sound. And now let's plug the pedal in, or sorry, switch the pedal on. So now the pedal's engaged. So that's a lovely clean boost. So next thing to do is engage the soft clipper, I think. So we press the switch in that position. Let's turn the gain up. Good. Now let's do it with the hard clipper. Well, it sounds pretty good. So we've got the 3 different modes now: boost, overdrive, and the final one with the switch in the down position, the distortion or the hard clipper. Before we tidy this up, I think it's now time to wire in the Klon side. Let's go ahead and do that. This is the voltage multiplier, which gives us our 24 volts. These are the op amps here, and they seem to be hot glued in. But the key thing is these are the clipping diodes here. So what we want to do is pull one end of those diodes out and connect them to a switch, and then we can have the switch either not have the diodes, or have higher forward voltage LEDs in place. So let's go ahead and do that. We've got the prototype wired up now, and so this is the switch, and here are the LEDs, 2 volts forward voltage. And then these are the diodes, 0.3 germanium diodes. I brought them out to the switch. And currently, we're putting a 1 kilohertz sine wave in, as usual, 300 volts peak to peak. And so if I put the pedal on now, you can see we've got distortion. And that is those diodes clipping in the clip signal chain of the Klon. And if I turn the gain up, the clip will get worse till it turns into a shark fin. So that's heavily clipped on those diodes, but there's an integrator after the diodes which gives it this shark fin. So let's just roll it back to there, and now let's put the diodes in. Oh, it's a huge signal, so let's turn that down. And so that's with the diodes in and the gain put halfway, just the gain. Yeah, that's the gain just below halfway, so it fits on the screen. And then if I put no diodes in, it looks exactly the same. So clipping with the germanium, no diodes whatsoever, gain set halfway, and diodes, LEDs in. So why don't I crank up the gain with the LEDs? So I'm going to have to turn this out, a lot of output voltage coming here, 11 volts. So that's LED clipping, and now we just get rid of the diodes, so it's just straight through, so there's no clipping, so there's no voltage compression, and that's a straight clip. And we're not seeing much of the integrator, which give the Klon its great sound on the second stage, having any effect. With the LEDs, with the LEDs you can see there's a roundness to the clip, on the rising and falling edges, and so that's the integrator working okay-ish, but there's a definite hard clip on the top, and it's going to sound quite fizzy, I bet. And then this is this is without any diodes, so we're just driving that amplifier really, really hard and clipping it like mad. That's the second amplifier stage. Technically the third op amp in the Klon. If you watch my Klon video, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And so I look at that and I look at that, and then more importantly, because I like the Klon for clean, I go to here. That's just before breakup on the without diodes, and I go to here. That's the clip with the germanium. That's the middle, no clip, and that is the diodes. I I want to ditch the diode, not the germanium, of course. Sorry, I want to ditch the LEDs because it doesn't do much. And if I want to have this set on a clean boost, which is the goal, and if I want to have distortion, I can always go like this. Clip it out like that in the center position. Yeah, it's just marginal difference. I'm going to change the LEDs to silicon diodes, and let's have a look what the signal looks like then. Now I've added the diodes, you can see them there, and remove the LEDs, and I have it set in the center position, and the gain, as you can see, is just set over halfway, and so that's a clean boost with 10 volts peak to peak, so that's a massive amount of headroom in this pedal with the clean as a clean boost. Now if I put the original diodes in, nice bit of clip, low voltage, 2.4 volts, still pretty high though for an overdrive, and then that is the center position, so clean, and then that is the new diodes. These are silicon diodes, so silicon, germanium, and so you can see the voltage drop difference, or the forward voltage drop difference in just the amplitudes of those two. So I like that. That gives me more of interesting behavior. Turn this guy up. So now on the silicons we've got a pretty good clip going, and the integrator amp's working fine. Clipped like mad. I think that's just going to be filthy and dirty, but we'll try it out when we do the tone test. And then just good clipping on the germaniums, because that's what it was designed to do. I think now it's time to plug the whole pedal in and do a tone test. So what I'm going to do is clean it up, mount my switches here. Well, just one last thing. Let's put the Blues Breaker in while we're on this heavy clip and see what happens. Absolutely nothing, because we're just driving the output stage of the Klon so hard without the clipping diodes. So I wind it back to clean boost. We've got this set into we've got that in the middle position is a boost. Oops, hit the camera again. It's hard to do this, so I'll turn that gain down. So now that's clean boost. So turn this off. Yeah. So this is one drive, clean drive, feeding another clean drive, and we're just amplifying, just like the stages in an amplifier. And this volume pot here essentially would be the gain pot in an amplifier. So we turn that up and you can see the clipping starts to happen. And so I'll be interested to try that in the tone test as well, where we just treat it like the first two stages in a tube amp. Okay, I'm going to wire this thing up, neaten it all up, drill the holes, put the switches on, and then we're going to get to a tone test. I've added the switches in place here. I put some hot glue here. Maybe I overdid it in this area, but there was a lot of flying diodes, and of course we want this to be mechanically sound over a period of time, so I think this is probably adequate. And so this is the Klon side, and this is the Blues Breaker side. So what we're going to do now is flip it over and give it a tone test. So let's try it out. Right, let's do the tone test. It's hard to do because there's so many permutations and combinations. So what I'm going to do is start with the switches in the center positions, and that is with no clipping diodes. So these are acting just like boosts, and so they're just multiplying the signal coming in, or amplifying the signal coming in. So first of all, this is a clean sound. I'm on the bridge pickup. Let's put in the Blues Breaker. So obviously there's a lot of gain there, so let's turn down the gain. So let's not drive the amp as hard and turn down the volume. I think that's about the same volume, pedal in and pedal out, but obviously we've got a filter section here with the tone. it gives us our treble boost, if you will. Pedal in. Now let's add in the Klon, which effectively is another boost section, because we got the gain set to 0, so it's not even going down the diode path, so this switch actually doesn't do anything. And then we've got the output low. Remember now that this is a 9-volt supply, it's a 24-volt supply. So this one, when we feed this with an amplified signal from here, can put out a much bigger signal, and it might even overdrive the amplifier. Let's see. Yeah, you can see it's overdriving. So if we just turn down that. No pedals, quite. Pedals in. So we're definitely cutting the bass and lifting the treble, and that will be all down to these EQ sections and plus the capacitors on the input. Now let's flick to the bridge pickup and engage a diode. So I'm going to turn this guy off. So this is a stock diode. Now you can see the diodes clip, and they also compress, so we see a volume reduction. Which is good because we have a clean boost here. So if we switch this on, maybe turn up the output. So what we've done is took this clip signal, compressed signal, and put it into the amplifier here, the 24-volt amplifier, so it's got a lot of headroom, and we're doing nothing but clean boost in it. And it sounds pretty neat. So let's do another experiment, right? I'm going to put this here, which is center, so there's no clipping. And we have amp 1 and amp 2, or preamp 1 and preamp 2. And we have this volume in between. So this is all, and this has got a higher voltage supply than this one. So this is almost like the first two tubes, or the first two tube amp preamp sections on an amplifier. So if I actually turn this up, put the distortion down a bit, this should overdrive this guy, but this has got a lot of headroom though, so let's try it. Oh, it's too overdriven, it's kind of flubbing out. I think that's optimal. Usually when you have one amp feeding another preamp, there is a resistor divider network to reduce it, so putting this down is an okay thing to do. And now let's engage this distortion feeding this clean boost. Good, back to where we were a little bit. Can turn it up a bit more. But now let's take this to this set of diodes. This is a hard clipper now, soft clip. Hard clip. a little more distortion, but obviously this hard clipper is a lower amplitude, so having this as the boost is a good thing. So onto our final test is that we've got a whole distortion scheme here, driven by this guy that we've had on 0 all the time. So let's try and crank that up and combine the two. So if the switch is in the up position, this now has an effect. And these are the stock diodes, stock germanium. Oh, that's a fantastic lead tone with it just at this point, which I believe, you know, from the other experiments I've done with the Klon, we're still not really clipping the diodes that much. Now if I go over here, so I put the switch in down position, so these are now silicon diodes, so that's a 0.7 forward voltage drop. This one is definitely more distorted. Sorry, this one is definitely louder and a bit screechier, and it's driving the amplifier a little harder on some of the peaks, probably due to the filter network of this treble as well. So let's keep it in this. Turn off that, the Blues Breaker. And you see that is essentially a tone shaper in this setup. You can see if it's out, in. So this is shaping it as a mid boost around a kilohertz, 800 hertz, as it goes into here. So when we take it out, it becomes more bassy. So let's drive this harder now. So that is silicon. Put it up to the germaniums, the stocks, what it was designed to do. More definition, I would say, in the guitar signal, because when we go to here, we're putting a much bigger signal. We're putting a much bigger signal not only into the amplifier itself, but into the stage that comes after the clipping stage in the Klon. And again, the link's at the top there just now, so you can press on it and understand the full architecture of the Klon pedal. So what I think I'll do, I'll keep it in here, down at 0.7, add back in my tone shaping with the hard clipper, because I think I like that sound. But I'm going to take the gain down a little bit here. Fantastic.